There's one specific relationship dynamic I work with a lot in my coaching, and that is the narcissist and the codependent, or what I would call the wounded people, where one is the exact opposite of the other but have the same wound, just expressed differently, and that is a loss of the true self. Many empaths or light workers or highly sensitive people have issues around emotional boundaries. We feel everything. We don't know where we start and where someone else ends. That's someone who is a potential empowered healer but has some wound work to do. And then the narcissist is someone who's completely abandoned their true self and adopted a false self so that they could survive as a child. And what happens is they act that out in many painful patterns in relationships. So why do the two of these attract each other, and how do we heal this dynamic? Watch this video. So much of my work is about healing emotional wounds, making emotional healing and self-healing totally accessible to you, to anyone, instead of having to go to some guru or multiple healers that never fully get the job done, which is all the emails I get to you for you guys. I've never gone anywhere. I finally figured it out. Is because we need to learn how to heal ourselves, and we need to learn that we can do that. And we can do that once we understand what it is that needs to be healed and why it's wounded in the first place. So one of the biggest, and I'm sorry about my lighting today, it's not perfect, but whatever. I go with natural lighting because it's natural and I like to keep it real. But sometimes it makes my videos a little bit interesting. The point is, one of the biggest relationship dynamics with people who have emotional wounds is the narcissist and the codependent, or what I like to call wounded people. The narcissist and the codependent. The codependent, or an empath who's unhealed, or a light worker or a highly sensitive person who has some issues with boundaries or some childhood wounds that still need to be healed, will attract someone that has the same inner wounding but happens to be the flip side. So it's almost like opposites attract, right? But the flip side is someone who absolutely needs your emotions to be aligned with them. Your life needs to be basically lived for them. Your boundaries need to become their boundaries. And why a lot of empaths or unhealed empaths or codependents fall into that is because they are so used to having their own boundary issues where they have energetic sensitivity, I call it, where I need my environment to be happy so I can feel happy. That's codependency. That's over responsibility. That's energetic sensitivity. That's where I'm dependent on my external. I am codependent. I am dependent on my conditions so I can feel good. And what I like to help codependent people work on, or empaths that don't have boundaries work on, is I can be totally unconditional with me no matter what my conditions are. So it's finding that sense of self from the inside, not depending on external validation or identity from anywhere outside of you. But the biggest piece of reclaiming that truth for ourselves is giving ourselves a permission to be our own authority, the own author of our own life, our own person that makes our own choices. And we're not looking for signs and sort of things outside of us before we claim what we really feel or know what we really feel. One of the first things with shifting this pattern is aligning with yourself, is empowering yourself, is saying, regardless of anyone else, I know me. And why a lot of us get in relationships, or a lot of highly sensitive people get in relationships with narcissistic people or addicted people or people who are controlling or overpowering, is because a lot of highly sensitive people, empaths, codependents, whatever you want to call it, because it's, like I said, I don't want anyone to watch this video and think what I'm saying is different than what I'm saying, is a codependent is an unhealed empath or an unhealed sort of sensitive person. The reason you became codependent is because you're emotionally sensitive, in my experience, in my opinion. So what a lot of these types of people attract is someone who's really sure of themselves, even though it's a false self, because narcissists don't really truly love themselves. It's a projection of a false love, a false confidence, a false self, so they can get along in the world and they don't have to die from the rejection that they have felt as a child. So a lot of codependents or unhealed empaths attract these types of people that are extremely externally confident or powerful or controlling or have a strong opinion, because a lot of codependents don't know what they want or are afraid to make a decision in case it's wrong, or they just want to live to make someone else happy. That's what they think they're here for much of the time. So if someone is very strong about who they are, at least I know how to please you. If someone is really strong about their opinion, you don't have to make a decision. You don't have to be wrong ever. You don't have to risk having a need that won't be met, because you know what their needs are and you just align yourself with that. What happens a lot of the time is you're unaware that the narcissist is also extremely wounded internally, and if it weren't for you, it would be someone else or something else that they would use to fill their void. It's called narcissistic supply. A narcissist needs constant supply of fuel to keep their self-esteem high. They need to have a lot of money so they appear really successful, or they need to be super beautiful, or they need to be super successful, or they just need to be liked by everybody. So, but they need to be domineering and control, like the leader. So you'll see this is a wound, and you'll see the wound when you remove yourself from it. You can't see it when you're in it because you just don't know that it's a wound. But when this person loses supply, in the form of whatever addiction it is, or the money that they're addicted to, or the looks that they're addicted to and now they're getting older and they're not having that, or if they can't find someone to fulfill the space that you had, which is another girl or guy that looks kind of like you or reminds them of you, or is even a better supply, someone who's filling their void even more, they won't even think about you if they have that. If they don't have that, they'll be thinking about you. They might actually be obsessing about you. And that's where the codependent gets a little mixed up, is there's this push-pull cycle, and the codependent says, see, they do love me. No, they don't love you. They actually need you. They need you to survive to keep this up. But what happens is, if you're in a real narcissistic codependent relationship, what happens is you completely lose yourself in the process. And the way codependents start to wake up really and empower themselves and understand is when they start reclaiming parts of themselves and realizing that power I gave to you, I now own in me. And this is a deep, deep process for codependent people or empathic people, because you feel almost guilty. You feel shame come up for having your own needs met, for living in alignment with you. But once you do it, and you say, no matter what, I choose me. I'm going to follow my own inner guidance. I'm going to follow what I need. I'm going to follow that pain. I'm going to feel it to heal it. I'm going to commit myself to reclaiming all of myself and healing those parts of myself that I abandoned and then took on the needs of others. I'm now going to put my needs first. So it's like self-care regimen 101. If you're not part of my Truth Room Tribe, my monthly membership program, please join, because next month is all about healing this process. This month is about healing the original wound, which is what creates codependency and narcissism if you have either one in the first place. But healing this dynamic in this relationship is by starting to claim you and put you first, not in a selfish sort of whatever people say, you're selfish if you love yourself. No, not in that type of a way, but in a type of, if I don't put myself first, I will never be able to truly be who I am in the world, in a relationship, and share my gift, because I'm suppressing the shit out of myself so that I can be there for someone else. It doesn't work. If we want to be part of the collective and want to know that we are on purpose with why we came here in the world, we have to be connected with who we truly are in this world, how we authentically feel. For the narcissist, don't worry about them. I have always heard that narcissists can't heal. I actually don't fully believe that. I have seen people with narcissistic symptoms heal, but it's not until they get truly real and start admitting what's going on, start admitting their pain, start taking responsibility for their behavior. And the biggest thing is change their behavior. And that will only become obvious over time by watching them from outside of the relationship. in my opinion, cannot happen within the relationship because they're so dependent on your supply, but you never know. So healing the narcissistic codependent dynamic, or empath that's unhealed dynamic, is about healing yourself from the inside out, looking at your own wounding and getting really honest about it and saying, I'm not someone that needs to be fixed. I'm someone that needs to be healed, and I need to heal back to myself by doing the self-care on a daily basis before I care for anyone else. Now, if you're a mother and we're talking about a child, different story. I'm talking about a narcissistic partner. I'm talking about putting your needs above them for a little bit so that you can be you, own you, and empower you. Please share and subscribe if you haven't already. Check the links below, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.